Hello, it's NFL Survivor Week number 5. Last week we are picking winners with the Cheezeman. Hopefully you did well last week. Last week was another wild week, but isn't it strange? Isn't it strange how 2 weeks ago we had all those heavy favorites, and on paper it looked like it would be an easy Survivor Week, and it turned into lots of people got beat with 3 major upsets. And then this last week, you're looking at it on paper going, how do I find somebody to play? There's not as many opportunities as normal. And this week, the favorites go 13-3. They blow it out, do well. Nobody was scared, right? Nobody got scared at all. I mean, Kansas City, they didn't scare you with the Jets, did they? Philly, they didn't scare you with Washington, did they? Little overtime game. The Bears, they're beating Denver 28-7, but Denver pickers had no issues, right? They knew they were going to roll and win. Me, on the other hand, I took the Minnesota Vikings. Was I scared? When Kirk Cousins comes downfield in the very first drive, and he throws that lollipop softball for an easy interception, 99-yard interception return for a touchdown for Carolina. They lead 7-0. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I could throw a Nerf football harder than that. And if I hit you in the head, it would hurt more than how Kirk Cousins threw that ball. Nerf Cousins. I think I'm going to call him Nerf Cousins. That's kind of a good name for him, Nerf Cousins. Oh, man, yeah, I was worried for sure in that game, but the Vikings did come back. As we talked about last week, Carolina doesn't really have anybody that can stop Justin Jefferson or the rest of the offense. And Minnesota marched it up and down. They just didn't score like they should have, but they end up winning the game. Philly ends up winning in overtime. San Francisco handled Arizona easy, much better than Dallas did. Oh, Dallas bounced back big time. Top 5 plays this past week, you can see here. Now, this was a tough week because when you do the videos kind of early in the week, I had no idea Jimmy Garoppolo would be out, no idea Deshaun Watson would be out, no idea Joe Burrow is so damaged as he is. He's obviously hurting. This injury this season, which is a calf injury, I believe, calf or hamstring or combo, this is still affecting him. There's no doubt. Burrow looked terrible, and Cincinnati could be in trouble here. But you can see the rest of the plays there. Philadelphia, first quarter and first half, boom, both bit the dust this week for the first time in a long time. Those streaks ended. Seattle total over 23.5, no problem there, right? I mean, oh my God, could the Giants score some points? Denver, Chicago over, hit pretty easily. Chicago's now 4-0 to the over. Cleveland, Baltimore under. It actually was not 41. It was like 38.5 or 39 once Deshaun Watson, once everybody realized he wasn't playing, and that thing hit pretty easily. And then the Rams-Indy over hit, so we're at 4-1 over there on the bonus side. Kenny Walker over 64.5 rushing yards. Boy, I thought the first quarter I might have it on one play. Pittsburgh-Houston over. Mike Tomlin was furious. Oh, man. They stunk. Something's got to give in Pittsburgh. That was awful. And Houston, C.J. Stroud, he's great so far. He's had a record rookie quarterback run his first 4 games. Puka Puka over 75 yards receiving. He did it easily again. Matt Stafford is basically throwing for over 300 yards every game, and Puka has been the beneficiary. Cooper Kupp is back this week. My picks in the primary poll, you can see we had 3 teams out already with 3 teams advancing. Good. We're still in this thing. We take a quick week 4 review. 1,791 entries, 519 remain, 34 more eliminated last week. That's a small number, our smallest of the year. Top win choices, San Fran, Philly, Chargers, KC, Minnesota, Dallas. Top loss choices, Pittsburgh at 16, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Chicago. Hey, we're going to have a mid-year Survivor pool. I think it starts week 7. If you want to join, let me know. Hit me in the comments, and I'll get you information on that. Let's take a look at our metrics. Home teams are dying this year, man. 2 years ago, away teams had a better record than home teams for the first time ever in the history of the NFL. Normally, home teams win 56% of the time. This year, you could see we're below 50% still. So we're on home team watch. Favorites, 13-3 last week, and they climb up towards their normal 66, 67% winners. Home favorites had a good week at 6-1. They're finally back over 60%, but away favorites, look at them go. 7-2, 19-7 on the year, over 70% winners. So you look at it one of 2 ways. Is it the year of away favorites? They're going to keep rolling. Are they a juggernaut? Or is this going to come back down towards their normal 63, 64% winners? We'll see. Right now, they're a juggernaut. Thursday night favorites, Detroit wins. They're now 3-1 after the opening week loss. And then our top 5 survivor pool choices went 5-0 last week. We like to see that every once in a while. It's the first time this year. They're not up to 70% for the year. Let's look at against the spread. Once again, home teams are a little behind where they normally are. Favorites, though, have climbed over 50% winners against the spread. Away favorites are getting it. Away favorites against the spread now are over 60% winners right now. Over under, another tough week at 7-9. It dips back. It's about 45%. Remember last year, the under won about 57% of the time. This year, it's currently at about 55. So the under is doing it again, guys. 6-point favorites straight up went 5-0 last week. They're up to 15-3, 83%, even higher than normal. And, you can see against the spread, they're doing well too. Look down below there. Normally we have 1.25 upsets per week of 6-point favorites and higher, right? This year we only have 3, which puts us at 0.75 per week right now. So once again, we're in that zone of there should be some upsets coming. There should be some upsets coming. When you look at this week's schedule, though, we don't have many 6-point favorites and higher. You can see right off the bat, Thursday, we got Washington at 6.5. Now, that game was up at 7. It's come down a notch. Everybody's scared of the Bears, I guess. But Miami's the biggest favorite on the board. This one was at like 9, and now it's up to 10.5, and I'm seeing it go up to 11 in some places after the Giants' impressive Monday night game. Detroit is a 9-point favorite at home against Carolina. They deserve to be, but I can tell you this. In recent years, like the last 15, Detroit has not been a good team to go with as a 6-point favorite and higher. However, this year, they do appear to be a much different team than in the past 15 years. Kansas City was up at 5.5. It's back down to 5. Could that get up to 6? Maybe. Then the other one was Buffalo. Now, that's a London game. Buffalo is a 5.5-point favorite over Jacksonville. Jacksonville stayed in London all week, okay? Make a note of this. They've been sitting in London on London time all week long. You look like you're from London. And Buffalo comes off a monster rivalry victory, and now they got to get on a plane, head over to London. So Jacksonville definitely has an advantage here. Could it be a trap game? We'll see. All right, let's take a look real quick at our home and away favorites straight up versus, utilizing the point spread breaks that we have here. So you can see the top line, straight up, home favorites, norm. That's normally the percentage of wins they get at that point spread level straight up. You can see, like you would think, 0 to 3, 52%, and then it goes on up about 10 points every group. You can see this year at 0 to 3, 6 and 6, 50%. It's a little low. But what's worse is the 3.5 to 5.5 point favorites are still down at 42%. That's straight up. That's not against spread. That's straight up, 42%. Normally they win about 62% of the time, right? 63%. Away favorites straight up down below there. You can see the away favorites from 0 to 3 are 62% winners right now. From 3.5 to 5.5 points, they are undefeated at 6-0. And that, like I said, that was part of my thinking last week. Minnesota was a 3.5-point favorite on the road. And I thought, I don't know, away favorites are just getting it done this year. And I like Minnesota in this spot. Now, against the spread, you can see a bit of a different world here. Look, home favorites against the spread right now, they're just not doing it at all. 8 and 15 overall. So you can see in the lowest sector, 27% winners, then 41%, 3.5 to 5.5. That's not very good. Down in the away favorites, though, against the spread, you can see they've been insane good. They go 5-2-1 again. So normally they're just under 50% winners, but right now they're at 13-7-2 this year. 3-0 teams, let's review what happened last week. 3-0 teams at home usually win almost 70% of the time. 2-0 last week. San Francisco and Philly, both big favorites, won. 3-0 teams away, straight up now, usually win only about 50% of the time, and boom, there you have it. Miami goes to Buffalo and gets beat. Against the spread, they went 1-2. 0-3 teams. Now, this was the first time we'd seen this in forever, I think. We have 4 0-3 teams, and they all played each other. So none of this stuff mattered. They go 2-2 against the spread, basically. The home teams had an advantage stats-wise coming in against the away teams, but what happened, of course, the 2 away teams were favorites. The 2 away teams won these games. Taking a look at our OU weekly data, this was a bummer because we've told you this. Week 4 historically has been our #1 week in terms of scoring points in the whole year. In the last 5 years in particular, we've averaged over 49 points per game in week 4. What happened last week? Not even close. We averaged 43.5 points game, down from 49. You can see there, last year, week 4, we had 787 points. This year, we only had 697. A 90-point decline. That's stinky. Now, we did tell you this. When the over-under percentage for a week is under 40, so 2 weeks ago, it was only a 31.75% winner. The following week, it usually goes up, and in fact, it usually climbs at least 10 points. Well, it did do that. It climbed over 10 points this week. It still wasn't as great as what we thought would happen. We thought we had the double witching whammy, right? We had week 4, which is always a high-scoring week, and week 3 was a terrible over week. So we really thought we'd see a bigger move. Blah, we didn't get it. Let's take a look at our 5 worst teams now. Why? Because for Survivor, we like to beat up on the weak. I know that's not a manly thing or a heroic thing to do, but for Survivor, you're better off beating up the weak than worrying about who are the best teams. You can see here right now, according to Vegas odds, the worst teams are number 1, Arizona. Arizona is still number 1, even though they seem better than the Bears to me. 2 is Carolina, 3 the Bears, 4 Las Vegas, 5 Denver. Las Vegas moves in, Houston drops out. Top 5 offenses and defenses. Now, remember last week, Miami was averaging 550 yards a game. In 1 week, it shoots all the way down to 511. Still much higher than the all-time record that St. Louis has up there. And Miami's home this week against the Giants, who seem to like giving up a lot of yards, so I expect Miami to probably stay up there. San Francisco's 2, Kansas City, the Rams, and Philly. Top pass and rush offenses are Miami. Now on the defense side, Cleveland, last week, we remember they were about 164 yards a game. They dropped all the way down to 196, but this just shows why your quarterback is so important. At the beginning of the year, the running backs were all complaining about how they don't get paid what they deserve and all this other stuff. But other than maybe the top 5 running backs, they're all kind of interchangeable in the sense that they're not going to lose a whole lot of more games than they would have. But if your quarterback goes out, Deshaun Watson goes out last week, Cleveland looked like crud. I mean, you're putting in a rookie who's never played a game, DTR, Dorian, Thompson, Robinson. Cleveland couldn't muster anything whatsoever. And so, unfortunately for their defense, what happens is the offense doesn't do anything. The defense is on the field too long. You're going to give up more yards than you normally should. So Cleveland's defense fell down. They're still number 1, though. Dallas, Baltimore, Detroit, and San Francisco. Now, Detroit last year, guys, Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago, all 3 of those teams were in the bottom 5 defensively overall. 3 from the NFC North. This year, Detroit has climbed all the way to a top 5 defense. That is shocking to me. I figured they'd be a mid-range defense, right? From 10 to 20 maybe. And I can't imagine them staying in the top 5, but maybe they will. Minnesota's climbed out of that bottom. They're now like a 20th ranked defense. And Chicago has remained in the bottom 5 despite hiring a defensive coach. Number 1 pass defense, Cleveland. Number 1 rush defense is Detroit now. Getting back to our schedule for week 5, as we mentioned, this is a tough week. I couldn't find a lot of teams as in play. I think what we're going to see this week is probably a tighter group of teams selected, a lot more people on each of these teams. Let's take a look at my in-play playoff team options. I could only come up with 3. That I could truly endorse. Number 1, Miami against the New York Giants. Miami goes home off a loss, a disappointing loss. Now, they could have a letdown game, but I don't see it. You're going to go down and play Miami. It's going to be hot. Giants are going to get tired in the second half. The Giants can't score. I don't know what's going on with them. They've scored less than 10 or less points in 3 of 4 games now. And in the first half of the other game, they had 0. Didn't they? They were getting shut out by Arizona, I think, before they came back and won that game. Miami's going to roll them. Number 2, Detroit against Carolina. Detroit, top 5 defense. Their offense is doing well. Jared Goff absolutely plays better at home than on the road. I mean, Minnesota beat Carolina in Carolina last week. Detroit's definitely better than Minnesota and should handle them at home. Number 4, because number 3 is a non-playoff pick. 4 is Kansas City. It's down to 5 now at Minnesota. Now, this game is a little bit of a trap game, and I'm not going to play Kansas City. I think you can get them in a better spot in Survivor. And I'm going to tell you from past, Minnesota always loses to someone they should beat, but they always beat someone they should lose to. Could this be the one? Last year, Kansas City went into Indianapolis as a heavy favorite and lost. If you had to use them, go ahead. You know, you would expect them to win. Mahomes should handle this game. My top in-play option for non-playoff teams is Washington. This number's down to 6.5. But, you know, Justin Fields had a great first half last week. And then in the second half, they just, oh my God, tucked the ball in. You cannot give up that defensive touchdown there. Washington should handle Chicago. I do get worried if Fields does start running, because that's when Chicago gets a lot better than they actually are. But in the end, I think Washington's a play this week for sure. Now, a lot of people will be picking them. And it's Thursday night, and they're a favorite, and they're at home. The maybes now. I put Buffalo as a maybe. Normally, I look at this game and go, absolutely. But I'm going to tell you, a couple of years ago, Buffalo goes down to Jacksonville as a 16-point favorite and loses 9-6. Now, that's not going to happen again, but we talked about this earlier. Jacksonville's been sitting in London for a week. They're used to London time. Buffalo comes off a major rivalry victory, and now they got to go overseas to play. Their body clocks are going to be off a bit. So that's why I put it as a maybe. It's one of those ones where if you had to use them because you used up in-play teams, you could use them. But I don't know. I'm staying away from that this week. Number 6, Philly at the Rams. You know, Philly is still my squad. I think they're as good as any team in the league, but their defense scares me a bit this year. It's not as strong as last year. They're one of the bottom 5 pass defenses in the NFL right now. And the Rams are a very good passing offense. Matthew Stafford's thrown for over 300 yards a game in 3 out of 4. I like this game to potentially be a shootout. Philly hasn't really stopped anyone yet this year, and the Rams' offense has clicked pretty good, and they get Cooper Kupp back. And Philly stops the run, right? They stuff the run. They're one of the top 2 rush defenses, which means LA is most likely going to throw it every down. That lends towards an over as well. Number 7 is Denver. Jets at Denver. Now, Zach Wilson, and I said this before, give Zach Wilson some time, man. Get off the guy's back. He was going up against some really, really good defenses, including Kansas City's, and he played well last week. Second half, he finally settled down and started playing like a quarterback can. I'm not saying he's going to take the Super Bowl. I'm not even saying he can take the playoffs. But you got to give the guy a chance. And now he's going to come into a run of 4 or 5 weeks here where he plays Denver's defense, Vegas's defense, the Charger defense. Now we'll really see just how good or bad he is. Jet fans need to back the heck off the guy, stop booing him, because it only makes him more nervous, and just see if he could play. Just see if he could play. And now we're going to get that, right? At the end of this stretch, if he still stinks, then you wipe him out. But I have a feeling he's going to start to come around a bit, and the Jets could get some wins. So this game scares me, honestly. I mean, Denver got a win last week. Their offense is pretty good, but their defense is banged up a bit, and they're giving up a lot of points. Maybe this is a sneaky overplay. Number 8, Cincinnati. I mean, we really got to understand where Joe Burrow's at. If that leg is bothering him at all, then this could be scary, and they could go into Arizona and get beat. Arizona's played everybody pretty tough, even though San Francisco lamb-blasted them like a Super Bowl contender is supposed to, unlike Dallas. Overall, I mean, Cincinnati's desperate for a win at this point. Burrow is mentally tough. He'll suck it up and get this thing going and find a way to get the victory. It's a maybe. Riskies, Houston, Atlanta. Atlanta's -1. Atlanta is a very good rushing offense. Houston's rush defense still isn't the greatest, but Houston could score. And I feel like Houston could win this game. But as I've told you, whatever I say about Houston, do the opposite, because I've been wrong every week on them. Tennessee at Indy. The Titans came home and won last week. Now they go to Indianapolis, whose defense is not the best in the world. I'll tell you something. Derrick Henry has rushed for over 100 yards against Indy 6 of the last 7 games. He's averaged 122 yards a game. He's had 5 touchdowns in the last 7 games. So, and Indy's rush defense isn't the strongest. I feel like Tennessee is going to have an ability to run that ball, which then opens up some pass options. DeAndre Hopkins has to have one good game this year, doesn't he? Tennessee has one of the best rush defenses in the league. They give up a lot of passing yards, although Joe Burrow didn't take advantage of that last week. We'll see how Anthony Richardson can do this week. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Don't get hung up on last week. Baltimore's victory looks way more impressive than it actually was because Deshaun Watson didn't play, and Cleveland had a rookie quarterback starting his first game. Train wreck. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, will never play that badly again, I'm sure. I anticipate Pittsburgh not to play nearly as poorly as last week, and Baltimore not to look nearly as good as last week, okay? New Orleans at New England. These two teams are both averaging like 15 points a game or less. Can you say under? Both defenses are solid. Both offenses haven't done squat this year. Derek Carr looks terrible. Mac Jones looks worse. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I like the under. Dallas and San Francisco. Now, I'm picking San Francisco to win. I just think they're better than Dallas, period. Brock Purdy's never lost a regular season game that he started. Green Bay at Vegas, I think it's a total toss-up. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo should be back off concussion protocol. That makes Vegas a lot better, at least, right? They had another rookie quarterback starting his first game against Chargers last week. But, Jordan Love's looked pretty good. I think Green Bay can play with these guys. This game seems like dead even to me. I would absolutely say it risky for Survivor. Now, here's real quick. We're going to do fun with math. Fun with NFL math, Dallas against San Francisco. But our final score, Frisco 26, Dallas 17. We're sticking to it. Play that on wherever you do your stuff. You'll get a victory. All right, real quick, look at the dog report. You can see on home dogs, like I said, this slate looks difficult. So on home dogs, I think every one of those home dogs has a chance to win the game. Road dogs, there's some that look solid, but certainly some that look like, Tennessee. The Jets have an opportunity. Houston certainly has an opportunity. And then Dallas. We do start buys. We have 4 buy teams this week. We'll talk about how they come off of buys next week. All right, let's take a look at my picks in the primary poll. For one team, we're going to go to Detroit at home. Jared Goff plays well at home, going up against Carolina, rookie quarterback. Detroit's defense, top 5 this year. We're going to roll with it. Second pick, we're going to go Miami at home in the heat against a Giants team that can't seem to score. Miami, of course, averaging over 500 yards a game. I hate using one of my potential Super Bowl teams this early, but we are going to do it. You can see in that pool now we will have used 3 of my 4. And then over in the final team, we're going to take Washington. What's to like, what's not to like. I am a little nervous about the Bears. At some point, they're going to win a game. Justin Fields can certainly light it up. I believe it was about this point last year when on a Monday night game, New England came in as a big 10-point favorite or so, and Chicago destroyed them, and Justin Fields had a monster game. So here you got a Thursday night game. Is he going to do something like that to me again? Please, no. Washington, what I like about them, they're at home. This is a game Washington thinks they have a shot at the playoffs. This is a game they have to win. They're not going to overlook the Bears. They're a Thursday night favorite. Our Thursday night favorites have done very well the last 2 years. So let's roll it up with Washington, another potential non-playoff team in that Team 6 pool. Here's your team records against the spread as we look at my top 5 picks now. Rams 3-0-1, and then you can see all the 3-1 teams there. And then the Giants are now 0-4. Probably taking Miami next week. Denver, Chicago, Carolina, Cincy, New Orleans, they all still stink at 0-3-1. Against the over-under, Chicago's 4-0 to the over. Miami and Denver are also up there. Indy, Arizona, Philly, Green Bay. Those are the only 7 teams over 500 to the over, while we have 13 teams over 500 to the under, including New Orleans, who's 4-0 to the under, playing against New England, who's 3-1 to the under. Neither team can freaking score. Let's see our top 5 plays for this week. And of course, I do have a caveat again on the front because I don't know some of the individual totals yet. But Miami team total over 30.5. I know that's a big number, but I'm doing it. I think they will get there this week. Even last week, they put up 20 against a good Buffalo defense on the road. I think they bounce back this week, put up some points. I don't think they have troubles with the Giants. The only thing I'm scared of is if the Giants don't score at all. And then Miami gets in that mode like Seattle was where we don't really need to score. Derrick Henry over 76.5 rushing yards. Go get this right now because the total keeps coming up as people start to realize Derrick Henry's averaged 122 yards rushing a game over the last 7 against Indy. Washington, Chicago over 44.5 right now. Go get it now because I think this is going to go up. Chicago's 4-0 to the over. They should easily give up 24, 27, maybe even 30. So New Orleans, New England under we just talked about. Go get this right now. It's only going to keep coming down. Matt Stafford passing yards over. I'm going to take. He's thrown for 300 yards in 3 of 4 games and went over in his 4th game. Philadelphia is one of the 5 worst pass defenses right now. I think the Rams, with Cooper Kupp back, and Pukanuka, and Atwell, and Jefferson, and Higbee, and Philadelphia's rush defense is one of the 3 best in the league right now. So you're probably not running much, but you should be able to fling it all around. I like Stafford's passing yards over. I like Pukanuka still to get his receiving yards over. I want to see what it is, though, with Cup back because it will get split up more than it has been, but I still see Cup getting eased into play a little bit. And Puka still getting his fair number of plays and targets. Bonus plays, I'm going to stick with Philly first quarter and first half. I know it got beat last week. It did lose at times last year too, but overall it went like 13-4, and then the playoffs it hit almost every week as well, and the Super Bowl it hit. So I'm going to stick with it for now. You guys might not want to after last week, but I'm going to stick with it. Jimmy Connor over 60.5 rushing yards against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense is one of the 5 worst in the league against the run. It's in Arizona. Could be hot there. Pittsburgh, Baltimore under at 38. Now, the last 5 times these guys have played, they hit 39 once, and otherwise they've averaged like 32 points a game. I'm going with the under. Pittsburgh can't seem to score. Baltimore's defense is solid. Baltimore's offense is not exactly a juggernaut right now. I'm going to take the under. And then I like the Mr. Robinson parlay. I may take each of these individually. Bijan Robinson over his rush yards against Houston. Atlanta's back home. They need a win. Houston's rush defense isn't the best. They should be able to run it. Brian Robinson at home for Washington against the Bears defense that can't stop anything anywhere at all. I like his better than Bijan's, in fact. So I'll take them each individually, but I'm going to parlay that. I'm calling it the Mr. Robinson parlay. Go do the same thing and let's win some money this weekend. All right, guys, here's my picks in the primary pool. Once again, we're going Detroit, Miami, Washington. Thanks a lot to CoopGroup.com, our sponsor. Check out their drumsticks, baseball bats, golf grips. Please come back next week. Like us, subscribe us, do all that stuff. We hope you like this show. Once again, it's been NFL Survivor Week 5 picking winners with the Cheezeman. Good luck. We hope you survive.